Who's worth his salary at quarterback, Steve?
Yeah, I think you got to roll with Dak Prescott this week at 7,200 going up against Kansas City Chiefs. This is a team that's allowing, the Chiefs we're talking about, an average of over 8 yards per pass attempt, and that's right in the realm where Dak Prescott is too as well. Not afraid to go downfield. Obviously, that connection with CeeDee Lamb has been electric. And this is somebody who's averaging 24 DraftKings fantasy points, and he's hardly doing anything with his legs. That's something we used to rely upon with Dak Prescott. He's hardly running the ball, and he's still doing everything through the air. So now he gets one of the worst secondaries in the league. Not talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the Kansas City Chiefs, who just can't stop anybody at this point. This is expected to be one of the highest scoring games on the slate. So with that in mind, Dak Prescott is a great position to be one of the highest scoring quarterbacks on the slate.
All right, Geoff, when you're looking at these quarterback salaries, which one sticks out to you?
Oh, man. I think last week I said Cam Newton was irrelevant, wasn't going to be a big deal. Now I'm going to make him my pick.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the whirly dervish that is the NFL season this year. But Cam Newton at 5,100 is too cheap against Washington. This is a Washington team who's just bad. They don't have bad on defense. They don't have Chase Young. I know they won last week, but they've allowed the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks by a wide margin this year. This is just a bad secondary. And do we even care if Cam can pass the ball? We already saw, obviously, what Matt Rule has in plans here. He wants to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey. He wants to run the ball with Cam Newton. It's a very good chance he finds the end zone. Again, this is a fast-paced Washington team. Doesn't really play defense without their best defensive player. Yeah, Cam is 100% in play at 5,100. Sorry, Cam, for what I said last time.
Okay, we'll make sure he gets that message.
Back.
Pierce, quarterback, who do you like?
Geoff and I have done too many shows. I am also interested in Cam Newton this week at 5,100. Don't compare him to the top tier quarterbacks. Compare him to guys in this price range around that $5,000 mark. Who else is going to see the goal line work that he's going to get? None of the quarterbacks in this range. We know that Christian McCaffrey's always struggled as a goal line running back. He's not 100%. So you're going to get the rushing touchdowns from Cam Newton. You'll probably get some passing touchdowns. Again, people in this price range, they're not going to see the opportunity in the red zone and the goal line that Cam's going to get. Now, maybe they'll throw for 300 passing yards. Maybe that's really pushing it. So you might miss out on 2 or 3 air yard points, but he'll make up for that on the ground. I understand the fears of, well, he doesn't understand the system. Joe Brady has been a disaster as an offensive coordinator. He's supposed to be this whiz kid. It would be wise to just go ahead and blow this system up now and completely rebuild around Cam Newton and win now, because who knows how long Joe Brady and Matt Rule will be around if they can't win games. So I just give the keys over to Cam Newton and let him roll.
Okay, speaking of Cam Newton and the Panthers, his running back is one of 4 guys who are going to cost north of $8,000. So one of them going to be the guy you're going with here, Geoff, whose salary you like, or you got someone a little cheaper?
At running back.
At running back. Sorry, what did I say?
You just didn't say
I didn't say a position at all?
Yeah.
Yes,
but, I mean,
at running back.
When you said Christian McCaffrey, I kind of got where you were going.
Sure.
I was going to pick a tight end or something. Don't worry.
We don't know, Geoff. You do like to always go with your tight ends. So.
That's true. I mean, you never know with me. George Kittle had a nice game last night. Anyways, as we've seen with the running back position that we're talking about, running backs, the cheaper guys have really just been where it's at. I mean, we saw last week the winning millionaire lineup. We just had 3 guys, I believe, all under 6K. This is really where you need to attack. And I think David Montgomery coming back is in a really nice spot here at home. We saw the Chicago Bears put up a little bit of fight in their last game against Pittsburgh. Justin Fields started to come to life, and Montgomery was back, and it was clearly the David Montgomery show. This is the running back for the Chicago Bears when he's healthy. 15 touches coming off an injury. There was rumors that he might split carries and stuff. That's not going to happen. I love attacking Baltimore too. This is just not a good defense. You look at their metrics; they allow a lot of big plays. They're up there in terms of receptions allowed to running backs and stuff like that. So I think it's a great spot to deploy David Montgomery because the main thing is he's 5,500. This saves you a ton of cash. You can pay up for those big stud wide receivers, which have been way more consistent this year. And just keep with the theme of looking for cheap running backs in good spots.
Okay, is there a cheap running back in a good spot you like, Pierce?
There isn't. There's a couple guys on the board. Maybe we'll see some things clear up by the end of the week, but no one that I really want to take a risk on just yet. And I'll just pay it for Ezekiel Elliott in spot against the 29th rush defense in Kansas City. We've got a really healthy 55 over-under on this game. We know Ezekiel Elliott will get the goal line work. Tyron Smith could be back in this game. And, if Dallas is wise, they're going to be a little bit more conservative and run the ball hoping that, Patrick Mahomes hasn't fixed his issues. Because if Mahomes is back, then you need to keep him out of rhythm. You got to keep the ball away from him, keep the ball on the ground, feed it to Ezekiel Elliott. You don't want to get into a shootout with Kansas City because then you end up passing too much. And you kind of play into not necessarily one of their strengths, but they're definitely better as a pass defense than they are a rush defense. So I think it would be wise to hammer with Ezekiel Elliott this week.
Steve, who are you rolling with at running back?
Yeah, Myles Gaskin is 5,700 going up against the worst run defense in the league. That's the New York Jets. They're allowing an average of 32.3 DraftKings fantasy points on the year. Like, it's been absolutely abysmal when this team is facing anybody that's going to run the ball against them. Obviously, the Dolphins are favored in this game. And, Myles Gaskin hasn't been overly productive, but you look at the carries he's getting here, 14, 20, 12, 15 over the past month or so. Like, if he's going to get that type of volume against the Jets, the points are going to come. So I feel like this is something you're getting that is really cheap and one of the best matchups of the season here. I know he's been a little spotty with the run blocking because he's not getting the blocks in front of him, but it's really not going to matter in this matchup because that's just how bad the Jets have been. 5,700, he has a chance to really go 4x on his value here.
All right, let's talk about wide receivers. Pierce, which guy's salary stands out to you?
Stefan Diggs at 7,900. I know it's expensive, but we saw the good Diggs last week against a bad defense. He's got another bad pass defense. Indianapolis is 26th in pass DVOA. They've allowed the third most points to receivers. And, they're a bit of a don't break defense. They allow those underneath routes. Diggs is running about an ADOT of 11 yards. It's kind of that perfect spot to torch them. He had a really big game against them in the playoffs last year. It's a pass funnel defense, and Buffalo is basically a pass funnel offense. All they do is pass. I can see Diggs again repeating his performance from last week.
Steve, just under Diggs, you can get Deebo Samuel. He's facing the Jags.
Dude, chill out, bro.
Gross.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a great spot for Deebo Samuel, but I'm looking at A.J. Brown in a bounce-back spot here. 2 straight weeks now. He's been under double-digit fantasy points. Last week, 1 catch on 4 targets for 16 yards. It was an abysmal game for A.J. Brown, who was at 7,800. But now he's going up against a Texans secondary that's allowing an average of 9.1 yards per target. That's one of the highest marks in the league. Julio Jones continues to be out. A.J. Brown is going to bounce back. This could be the week that he will do so. After burning everybody last week, the perception on Brown could not be lower going into this matchup. I think this is a great spot for him, and maybe, potentially, we'll see how it shakes out, some lower than usual ownership.
Jeff, what do we think? Which wide receiver are you rolling with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with the Deebo Samuel call. I just feel like I'm a little bit more interested in George Kittle in that offense right now, but both of them could definitely go off next week. I think buying Jamar Chase here at 7,200, I think people are going to look at this matchup and go, oh, well, the Raiders defend the wide receiver position well, so we shouldn't play Jamar Chase this week. He's 7,200. But, I mean, this player's got 10 or more targets in 3 of his last 5 games. And, I mean, he's done it against good pass defenses. Like Green Bay defends the wide receiver position well. He went for 30 points against them. Baltimore supposedly does that, too. He went for 30 points against them. Minnesota in week 1, he had a big game. I guess this is kind of just a player who his ceiling is matchup proof. He can go off against anyone. So I think buying in on Jamar Chase this week, who we'll see where the projections get later in the week and where we're talking about, but I don't think he's going to get as much heat as some of these other guys. I like buying on him if he's staying in the low 7K range.
Well, Jeff, I'm so happy you're here because, as Jesse has mentioned, the tight end position before, it is a position in which you really shine. So go ahead, just lead us off here. Whose salary really catches your eye? I'm sure it'll be a tight end 4 or 5.
So I'm just going to go with the guy who got 0 points last week. Let's do that.
Oh,
Let's go
wow.
with Mike Gesicki. Okay? I think this is actually a great spot to get back on Gesicki. Because realistically, how many tight ends are there outside of like Kelsey and Kittle this year who can get you 20-plus points? Gesicki has proven he is one of those guys. And, yeah, he went 0 for 7 in targets last week. I mean, I don't even know how you don't catch 1 pass when you get targeted 7 times, but he did it. But guess what, everybody? It's all sunshine and roses because he's facing the Jets this week. So I think this is a really good spot. Again, this is a tight end who's gotten really consistent targeting all year. He's probably going to bounce back with a big game at some point. And again, we have the Jets on here who don't defend anything well. no matter what Kenny Ducey says. So I actually like going back to him. He's going to have really low ownership because his price hasn't dropped at all. And he's just one of those players with very consistent 20-point upside.
All righty, Steven. Tight end.
Yeah, you're going to get very excited here, but Dan Arnold at 4,100
Yes!
for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, look, this is somebody who has 24 targets over the last 3 weeks, and he's still 4,100. Like, his salary has gone up $600 since last week, but over that span of last 3 weeks, at least 60 receiving yards. Hasn't scored yet, which is a little maddening seeing how many targets he's getting, but that is going to come at some point. And some of those points that he got in some tough matchups against tight ends like the Bills and the Colts. Now he's going to match up against the 49ers, who not exactly an easy matchup, but if they're going to keep feeding him the ball, if I told you that someone has 24 targets over the last 3 weeks and he's under 5K, he's only 4,100, you'd probably be jumping all over that. So Dan Arnold, 4,100, that's a guy at tight end this week.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Jeff was pointing out last week how amazing Dan Arnold has been. Low-key, flying under the radar. Let's chill out. I can feel you rolling your eyes
He's been
over
like,
there.
okay.
Pearce, go ahead. Tell me how amazing Dan Arnold is.
Don't worry, though. I got us covered for the obscure tight end number 4. John Bates at 2,500. Ricky Seals-Jones went down last week. Bates played half the game, caught 3 of his 3 targets for 25 yards. Simply just a punt. But we know that Washington, I don't know if they necessarily love to throw to tight ends, but they throw to tight ends because there's no one to throw to outside of Terry McLaurin, and they can't complete passes. I mean, Heineke can't complete passes to McLaurin because Heineke is not accurate down the field. That's why we see these inflated tight end numbers from Logan Thomas, from Ricky Seals-Jones. We'll probably see another good week from John Bates if he gets on the field. You got to monitor the injury situation, but if you're looking for your tight end 4 punt of the week, it's going to be John Bates.